Siam Commercial Bank is likely to have reinforced its consistent market-leading profitability in the banking sector, having reported unaudited first quarter net earnings of 10.34 billion baht. The reported earnings were a 29.4% increase from a year earlier. The increase excludes a one-time investment gain arising from the acquisition of shares in SCB Life, which was booked in March 2011. The sharp year-on-year increase in SCB's net profit was mainly the result of higher net interest income of 14.17 billion baht, representing a 29% increase year-on-year thanks to robust loan growth of 19.6%. Loan growth in the quarter was broadly based, with wholesale loans increasing by 10.5% year-on-year, small and medium-sized enterprise lending by 34.1%, and retail loans by 23.9%. Stripping out of the investment gain from the acquisition of SCB Life in the first quarter of last year, non-interest income rose by 12.4% year-on-year, primarily from 69.5% higher insurance premiums net of claims and 33.6% higher net trading income. The bank has set aside 1.5 billion baht in loan loss provisions from the current quarter, with its non-performing loan ratio standing at 2.39% at the end of March, down from 2.61% as at the end of 2011. The coverage ratio NPLs to total loan loss provisioning improved to 131.6% at the end of the first quarter, from 127.1% at the end of last year. Kiattisak Bank, meanwhile, yesterday reported a first quarter net profit of 8.98 billion baht for an increase of 47% year-on-year and 196.37% quarter-on-quarter. Lending in the first 3 months was 18.08 billion baht, up 28% from the same period last year and 0.8% quarter-on-quarter. At the end of the first quarter, the bank had assets of 1.85 trillion baht, a rise of 7.8% from 1.72 trillion baht as at the end of last year, due mostly to increasing interbank and money market items plus investments. Gross NPLs improved to 2.35% at the end of quarter from 2.45% at the close of 2011. Tisco Financial Group yesterday announced an unaudited net profit of 836.8 million baht for the first quarter, representing a 0.99% increase from 828.6 million baht in the same period last year. And it's filling the worst. Tisco stated that the NPLs at the end of March stood at 1.93 billion baht, or 0.88% of outstanding lending, and its CAR was 14.17%.
Let's have a phone-in from Kun Kiattisak Jenwipakul, the Managing Director Research Group of SCB Securities. Good afternoon, Kun Kiattisak.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Kun Kiattisak, so how has the Stock Exchange of Thailand been performing in the past week?
Well, we're coming off a bit of a correction, but bearing in mind this market has rallied pretty hard from in the last 6 months to a new high of 1210. So this is a high that we haven't seen for probably at least 16 years. But for the past week or so, we have started to see a bit of correction after a strong rally. And the market at the bottom was correct about 5%. So it isn't a very strong correction so far, but we are in a correction phase right now.
So what's the reason for this massive rally right now?
Well, it came from a very low base in the past 6 months. There were a lot of concerns at the time on what's happening in Europe, and coupled with the flood that happened in Thailand. So it got the market to a very oversold level before this massive rally that things have normalized.
Kun Kiattisak, what are the external factors that continue to affect the performance of the SET?
Well, I think there are two major factors that will happen over the next week, actually starting tonight. You have the Spain bond auction, and we're basically looking for a critical level of 6% yield. Anything above that we think will be quite negative and potentially raising the concerns about the euro debt crisis. And next week you're also looking at the FOMC meeting from the US.
I see. So talking back about Thailand, what's the country's attractive fundamentals that can draw investment and boost the SET?
Well, I think the fundamentals are still looking pretty positive, and it's true for Thailand as well as most of ASEAN, which is in the whole economic growth that we've seen in the past decade. It has caused trouble in the U.S. and Europe in particular, and to some extent maybe China. But during this period, ASEAN has been pretty resilient. You see the corporate balance sheet still in very good shape, and we're actually in a position to grow further. And this is the story about growth is really what's different for ASEAN compared to the rest of the world. The case for growth is much more solid in ASEAN.
See, what is your expected range in the coming of second quarter?
The range for the stock market, you mean? Well, basically, we set a year-end target of 1,300, so there's still a decent upside from here. But at this point, after a fairly strong rally and only a 5% correction, I think at this point we're recommending investors there's no major reason to be particularly aggressive. Despite a year-end target of 1,300, there's still a bit of room for pullback. So at this point, we are looking for further upside to 1,300, but just don't need to be particularly aggressive at this stage.
Yes, Kiattisak. And are there any particular stocks that we should keep in mind or keep a close attention on that are performing extraordinary?
Yeah, well, I think the rally has been largely driven by the so-called domestic play. So, for example, stocks like in the retailing sector and in the telecom sector. Now, these are stocks that do have solid fundamental, but share price has run quite a bit. So, if we're getting a strong correction in this round, these are the areas where you want to look for a better entry point. But as where things stand, the sector that has been the biggest laggard is actually the energy names, which we think even at this level, the value is pretty attractive.
I see. Well, Kiattisak, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.